Hello and welcome. Today we're working on the BA2 Plus Financial Calculator, how to solve for present value. Hey, if you're new, my name is Jeff. I teach a lot of accounting, finance, time value of money, Excel, the calculator, so on. So please like, please subscribe, and put your comments and your questions down below. Let's get started with the present value. So if we solve for present value, here's what we need. We need PY, the number of periods each year. This is the compounding frequency. We're going to need to know the number of periods, or N, the interest rate, the annual interest rate. We're going to need to know, is there a stream of equal payments, a payment, and is there a future value? And so once we know all these, then we can calculate present value. I've got lots of videos on time value of money, so if you're new, you might want to start with one of the other videos and come back to this one. So our first problem is you'll receive $50,000 in 8 years. You can earn 7% annually. What's it worth today? Well, periods per year. This is the compounding frequency. This is 1 period per year. And what is the number of periods? Well, the periods are in years in this problem, so it's 8 periods. The interest rate is going to be 7%. What else do we know? We know that we're going to receive $50,000 in 8 years. Now, is this $50,000 every year for 8 years, or is this $50,000 at the end? Well, it's going to be $50,000 at the end, and so it doesn't mention a payment, so we can assume the payment is 0. We have everything. We're ready to solve the present value. So let's look at our calculator. So what we want to do is we want to set the periods per year to 1. So second function, periods per year. My calculator was set for 12 in a monthly problem the previous time I worked this. So this is 1, enter, and then we'll clear out of this. And so the number of periods is 8. What we do is we put 8 and then N, so it says N equals 8. Sometimes people try to put the N first, N and then 8, and it doesn't work. You have to put the number and then N. 7, we treat it like a whole number, and we hit I, the interest rate per year. We're trying to solve for present value, so we can skip over that. We need to put in 0 as the payment, because there might have been something previously in that payment. And then 50,000 is going to be our future value. Now, let's think about this. 50,000 is either going to be plus or minus. Now, since I put 50,000 in as positive, then my present value is going to come out negative. So compute present value, and we get 29,100 and like 46 cents. So the answer looks like it's 29,000. Now, present value and future value are always going to be opposite signs. If present value is positive, then future value is going to be negative. If future value is negative or positive, then the present value will be negative. They're always going to be opposite signs. We can manage this by saying, well, I'm going to put 50,000 in as negative future value. Compute present value. We get the same number except no positive or negative. Now, let's think about this. When you go to the store, you say, hey, I spent $100 at the grocery store. You don't have to say I spent a negative $100, because we all understand that. So the present value and future value, one's going to be an inflow and one's going to be an outflow, right? So are you paying $29,100 to receive $50,000 or whatever? So that's kind of how it works. Let's check the work, check our math on using Excel. So I'm going to do, this is present value. I'm going to search for it so we can verify what we have. So the rate is the 7%. Now on Excel, I need to convert it to a periodic rate. On the calculator, we just put P/Y as 1. The number of periods is going to be 8. The payment is going to be 0. The future value, I'm going to make the future value negative 50,000, so it forces my answer to be a positive 29,100. And that's what we got, 29,100. So we feel good about that. All right, second example is you have won a lottery that pays $100,000 for 20 years beginning today. Now, this is emphasized, beginning today. You can earn 6% What is it worth today? Well, this is still an annual problem. Periods per year is 1. The number of periods is 20. The interest rate is 6%. We're trying to solve for present value. The payment is going to be $100,000 because it pays $100,000 each year beginning today, and there's no future value. So what is the present value of this calculation? What's the present value of this stream of equal payments? Well, we need to do something different on our calculator because the payments happen today. Normally we assume payments happen at the end of the period. So it's not at the end of the year, it's at the beginning. Every payment moves up 1 year. So what we need to do is we need to set the periods per year is 1. I already have it set for the previous problem. The other thing we need to do is, do you see above the payment it says BGN? So it's in ending mode right now, and it says how you need to set if you want to switch it to beginning mode. So second function set. It's now in beginning mode. It's going to say BGN for beginning. So now we just enter 20 as N, 6% as our interest rate, 100,000 is our payment, and 0 is our future value. So we want to enter all 4 and then solve, compute present value, and we get 1,215,000. Now this is negative because I put the payment in as positive. So let's check our work with Excel here. So the present value is going to be the rate, 6%. The number of periods is 20. The payment is 100,000. The future value is 0. Now what we need to do for the type, it says the payment at the end of the period is going to be 0. The payment at the beginning of the period, so the beginning mode is going to be 1 here. And so our answer is 1,215,000. And so I'm going to make the whole thing negative so I can force the answer to show as a positive number. But you know the calculator will put the beginning present value and the ending future value as different signs. So we just have to manage that. So the answer is 1,215,000. All right, keep going here. If you want to save up $10,000 for a vacation in 5 years, you think you can earn a 10% return compounded monthly, what amount do you need to invest today? All right, so the periods per year, since it's monthly, is going to be 12 months per year, and the number of years is going to be 5, but the number of months is going to be 5 times 12, or 60 months. So this is not an annual problem, this is a monthly problem. Now you could save $100 a month, and that would help you get to your goal much faster. But we're just saying, what amount do you need to invest right now to have $10,000 in 5 years if you can get this 10% return? So our return is 10%. The present value is what we're going to calculate. The payment is 0. We're not making monthly payments. And the future value is going to be $10,000. We want to have $10,000 at the end. All right, so what's our calculation? Now, one thing that happens is we're in beginning mode. We have to take it off of beginning mode. So second function, beginning. It's in beginning mode, and we need to do set. So second function set takes it off beginning mode because that'll throw us off. Most calculations, we assume ending payments happen at the end of the period. Okay. So here we're going to plug in the periods per year is 12. Enter at the very top row and clear out of this, and we'll put in 60 as the number of periods, so 60 in, 10% is I. We're looking for present value, but there's 0 payment, and we have $10,000 as our future value. So compute present value. How much do we need to put aside today? We need to put about $6,078. $6,078 is our answer. Let's compare it. Let me run the math with Excel. So we have the present value. The rate is going to be 10% divided by 12. The number of periods is 60. The payment is going to be 0. The future value is going to be $10,000. And the payments happen at the there's no payments, but we're going to assume the ending. So it's 6,077. I'm going to make it negative to get rid of the negative. Whoops, that didn't get rid of it. So we'll make it negative here. So therefore, it's $6,078 basically is our calculation. Okay, one more calculation on example 4. A company wants to borrow money from you. Okay, so let's say you're in business and you have a company, maybe it's a supplier or somebody that you have a relationship with, and they want to borrow money. They say, look, here's what we can pay. We can pay $500 per month for 5 years. And you say, okay, we can do that, but I'm going to need a 9% return. And they say, okay, that's fine. How much do you let them borrow? So what they've done is come to you with the payments, and you calculate then how much you will give them cash to let them borrow. So our periods per year is going to be 12. The number of periods is 5 years times 12, or 60. You're going to require a 9% return. We're going to calculate present value, or the amount of the loan, right? The payment is $500, and then they don't have any payment at the very end. So how much are you going to let them borrow? Okay, so let me do the Excel first here. Let's do it in different order. So we'll say for present value, we'll do the rate of 9% divided by the 12. So the number of periods is 60. The payment is going to be 500. There's no future value. So how much do you let them borrow? You let them borrow $24,000. Okay, we're going to make this a positive number. Get rid of that negative. Okay, let's do it on the calculator. How would you enter this on the calculator? We need to do the second function, periods per year, 12 periods per year. And we'll do 60 months as N. 9% is the interest. We'll take $500 every month, and we're assuming they pay at the very end of the month. And then 0 is the future value. So we're going to compute present value. We get $24,086. It's negative because we put the payments in as positive. Now, your friend could come back and say, well, or the company could say, hey, would you be willing to take 8%? And if you did 8%, then you could recalculate that. You say, okay, then that means you can loan $24,659. So they earn a little bit, they have a little bit larger loan, and you only receive 8% return each year rather than the 9%. Well, what if you said, well, I'd be willing to do it at 10%, and they say, okay, then they would borrow $23,532. Now, under this scenario, now here's what you think about. They're making $500 payments times 60, right? They're making $500 payments times 60, so they're making a total of $30,000 in payments, right? And if you let them borrow $24,000, then you're getting about a $6,000 interest over the 5 years. So you can do lots of calculations with the calculator. The BA2 Plus can do present value, can do future value. The previous video is on future value. The next video is on calculating payments. So, hey, thanks for watching. Good luck, and we'll see you on the next video.